Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let me welcome you to this meeting of the Waverley Local Planning Panel for the 28th of July 21. We have a long agenda, so I would ask all speakers to stick to their 3-minute time limit. When that's expired, there'll be a beeper, and I will only grant extensions in unusual circumstances. Let me start by introducing the members of today's panel. My name is Paul Steen, I'm the chair. The other members of today's panel is Ms. Jan Morell, Mr. Stuart McDonald, and Ms. Penny Lope-Mora, the community representative. The other representatives, the other panel members are expert members. Call upon the members of the panel to disclose any conflicts of interest they may have. And I'll start by disclosing the conflict myself. That is in relation to agenda item number 1, 84 Nancy Street, North Bondi. I sat on the original decision, the subject of the review, so consequently I will be declaring a conflict of interest in this matter and will not participate in the meeting for that part of it. I've asked Ms. Jan Morell to chair that meeting and she has accepted, and I won't participate in any consideration of the matter. Are there any further conflicts of interest?
No. Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's Stuart McDonald. I have a conflict to declare in relation to item 2, which is 113 Macpherson Street, Bronte. The firm for which I work, SJB Planning, has had some involvement in this application, so I will absent myself and take no part in the consideration.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. That's noted then. Well, we can start straight in on the meeting, and the first item, as I mentioned, is 84 Nancy Street, North Bondi. I will absent myself and hand over to Jan Morell as the chair of that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. If I could just check with Rosalina, the people that we have listed to speak for this one. Rosalina? No, okay. I'm very sorry, people. I've just got to bring up the speakers list then. Right, we have, no, not for item 2, 4, no. So the speakers here, I do believe we have an objector submitter who wishes to address the panel. Are you on the line for this particular matter?
Yeah.
No?
Yes.
Yes.
I think there's a couple of us that are on the line.
Right, thank you. Good, okay. So would you like to address the panel?
Yes, look, I'm obviously not a professional. Have the reasons for refusal in Appendix A been addressed? Will the original objections still stand? If higher building density is to be passed with this DA, will this new standard then be permitted for all new building work in the locality? With access to this property via a cul-de-sac, this development will overwhelm not only the opportunity for parking, but access to properties as well. The road is very frequently blocked by general traffic conditions as it is. Nancy Street was built to cater for the horse and cart. This development will put too much strain on already chronic parking shortage. Is there to be parking? There are 3 car parks on the plans to my knowledge. With size, what size car does each car space allow? I want assurance that there will be 3 car parks built and that there will be no variation to the parking on the site. How can we be assured that the areas allocated to parking will not be turned into habitable spaces with a variation to the plan down the track, as has happened with other similar scenarios in the neighbourhood? dilapidation report. Will there be a dilapidation report conducted on neighbouring properties, in particular in relation to excavation? Construction. What is to be expected during the building process as far as storage of on-site material? Will the footpath be closed to pedestrian access? As the other side of the street is driveways, will the Nancy Street access point to the high school be closed for safety reasons? That's all I had to say.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your submission. Now, can I move to Andre Balafas? Is Andre online? Hello? Rosalina, are you there?
Jen, he's not in the meeting.
He is. How do we get there? Jeez, mute.
Okay, he's, well, can I have Janelle Wiley Williams? If you're on the line, and I believe I can see you there, if you could unmute and address the panel, that would be appreciated. Thank you. Yes, you're on mute, so if you could unmute, thank you.
Okay. Andy, Andre is here with me because his computer's malfunctioned.
Oh, okay, fine. All right then.
So we are both together on my computer.
Okay.
So my concerns are the actual high density of the area. The street is a mix of, well, it's semis, and I do believe the frontage of the proposed development is quite large. It's very close to the footpath. I don't believe that their plan has adequate provision for parking. Parking is at a premium anywhere in Bondi, especially in Nancy Street. Every home has at least 2 cars, and there is no parking in the street today. So it will limit the parking. Have they also, I'm concerned, I mean, I'm just a housewife. So therefore I'm concerned, have they had a geotech report for when they drill down for the swimming pools, and where will the offlow of the water in the heavy rains, what provision is made for that? Because we are on a hill, and I have flooded previously from the runoff on the road at Nancy Street. So I had a little look at the plans, and I can't see a report there. Also safety. We've had a little bit of development in Nancy Street. The children play, it's a family area, children play on the street. We end up with potholes. And people don't abide by the rules that you lay out. And the architectural drawings, I don't feel show the true impact that it will have on the street and the streetscape, the visual of the building. Also, the school uses this gate. We would have, I'd say, around 100 children exit the school, and COVID's not in play. And I think all the demolition trucks and everything, no one controls that, and it is a disaster waiting to happen, a fatal accident waiting to happen. Andy, what would you like to say?
Well, we did send a letter into the council with what we think about it, and I mean,
do you want me to read that, Andy?
if you like.
Okay, so these are, do you mind if I read for Andy?
Yes, you may, but I just also want to make you known that the panel has read all of the submissions that have been received.
Oh, very good.
We've inspected the site as well, but by all means, if it's not too long, yes, you may read it.
It's not too long.
I think a main one too is the proposed development creates undersized lots compared to the other lots in Nancy Street, Rena Street, Hardy Street. and it's inadequate. The actual frontage is so inadequate because the lot is small and the front of their building takes over the entire front space of the frontage onto the street. And with that, there's insufficient setback at the front of the property. The addition of the garage and the studio, it just dominates the frontage, the street frontage. And the additional studio apartment is just not consistent. It's just a big concrete slab right on the street. And how are they allowed to remove trees, existing trees? The bird life up here in Nancy Street is just beautiful. We have crows, we have magpies, we have lorikeets, Australian miners, the wild pigeons. Where will they go?
Thank you very much. That
Thank
has
you.
been the
Thank
bill.
you.
But if there's something else you would like to say, Andy, by all means, say it in your own words.
Oh, that's about all. Look, the street here is overdeveloped. When I moved up here about 30 years ago, 35 years ago, the Dover Heights High School was halfway back. We had the park in the front, and our kids used to play. And then the school came here, they blocked all their view on the northern side. I used to have a view all the way to Manly.
Yep.
And now everything comes up, all those trees have grown up so high. We're losing, I used to see a lot of the harbor down there.
Yep.
Every day I'm losing more and more view. And by looking at the plans of this particular property, I'm losing more view, the height of it. And it's gonna be another big box there. You see, hardly there's any land left. You see, it's all buildings.
Right.
And in regard to, I mean, this goes back also to the school. When the school had the approval there, it was for emergency access into Nancy Street, only for fire brigade and ambulance. Today, well, not today, but the last 10 years, 8 years or 7 years, they're using it for all the children and all the cars and everything up in there, and there's no any safety provisions. And this is all becoming too much on the street.
Okay, then. Thank you very much.
And I thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
and you can stay on the line. I'm now going to call upon the town planner representing the applicant. That is Darren Laybut. Thank you, Darren.
Hi,
Yes.
Jefferson. Thank you.
And in addressing the panel, could you please respond to the concerns that you've heard from neighbours? Thank you.
Sure thing. Before I begin, can I just confirm that you received the submission and the plans that were with that submission that were sent through on Monday?
Can I say that we did receive it, but we are unable to consider them, Darren, because they were received and we haven't had and the council officers have not had the opportunity to assess same.
Yeah,
So,
appreciate that. It's more of something that I can talk to demonstrate something that I was going to suggest in my presentation.
Okay, then, fine, Darren. Good. Yes.
All right, cool. So thanks for the opportunity to speak today. I firstly will just address the minimum lot size and minimum frontage aspect. The minimum lot sizes, yes, they are less than the 325 metres squared control in the LEP. However, as part of the clause 4.6, we've gone into a detailed look at Nancy Street and the lot sizes in the streetscape. And the lot sizes of 252 and 309 are consistent with what's in the street, as well as in a more broader picture of Rainer Street and further streets westward. What council's only raised concern with at the moment is the lot frontage. And that's an existing irregular frontage in the streetscape. So yes, the frontages are less than the average of the mid-block sites further down Nancy Street. We looked at this to try and manage and feel we have managed the irregular frontage. Part of that is looking at vehicle access. Driveways require a minimum of 3 metre widths, and that has been accommodated to both lots. and 2 cars are able to park in the garage of the northern dwelling, 1 in the garage of the southern dwelling, and a hard stand space in front of that, and are able to get in and out without relying on the other properties part of the driveway. Once we've gone beyond the immediate frontage, the lots become wider much quicker and become more consistent with the streetscape. And that's where we've cited the dwellings, resulting in no issues with side setbacks or internal dimensions to the actual dwellings themselves. So when looking at that, we felt like we have actually addressed the lot frontage being inconsistent. It hasn't actually resulted in a detrimental outcome. There's also no minimum frontage control in the LAP or DCP. The last thing I just want to mention on that is a right-of-way was introduced as part of the 8.2. That came about because in the initial DA assessment, the council engineer's comments in the assessment report mentioned that if one of the owners was to construct something on the boundary, a structure, fence or anything, it could compromise vehicle movements in the future, and that was their suggested solution. So we introduced that, having no issue with a right-of-way. So we feel like that resolves a potential scenario or potential conflict in the future. But in saying that, we do not feel that it is a poor design outcome for the site to have instituted that right-of-way. Just quickly touch on some of the things the objectors said. One of those was parking. The 2 car spaces are required and they have been provided on site. There's no existing on-site parking in front of this property, and so we are not looking to rely on on-street parking for residents of these homes. A dilapidation report, I imagine, can be addressed through a condition of consent. The lot size I did touch on. The setback to the garage, it is actually further setback than the one on 61 Nancy Street directly to the east. The structure that we have proposed there as the 2-car garage with the home office above is actually smaller in width as well as depth than that structure there. We looked at this and what was built around us to see where we could site a home office, which was an attractive idea before COVID came about. But that structure there, in our view, doesn't overwhelm the streetscape. It actually masks the school behind it, as well as the untreated driveway of the school behind it. And, well, personal opinion, it does not overwhelm the streetscape. That being said, and I realize I'm running out of time, so I'll refer to that submission for some more comments about visual bulk elements, but I would like to at least acknowledge that in those set of plans, which again are just for purposes of talking point, on page 23 is a 3D visualization of the development if that home office, as well as the front balcony of the northern dwelling, is reduced to 900 mil depth, and yeah, the home office is deleted. If the panel was of the view that those are elements that need to be removed, that is an example of what the development would look like if the panel would consider conditioning out those elements. So yeah, that's more or less what I wanted to say. So appreciate your time. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Darren. I'll open it up to the panel to ask some questions. Stuart McDonald, thank you.
No, nothing from me. Thanks, Chair.
Penelope.
No, Jan, nothing from me. Thank you.
I might just have a question, Darren. I'm just trying to understand how we can deal with these plans in the form that you've presented them.
Yep.
They can't form part of any determination.
No, I appreciate that. I'll admit to not being 100% clear on the rules that the panel can work under for conditions, but what a suggestion could be is that a deferred commencement condition is issued for the deletion of the home office, and the front balcony on the northern dwelling on the first floor could be reduced to a depth of 900 mils, which is what's shown on those sets of that set of plan, or align with the alignment of the southern dwelling, whichever the panel would deem more appropriate. And by doing it as deferred commencement, council has certainty in what they actually see on the plans before it is formally signed off.
Okay, well, I suppose our other difficulty is also that the objectives don't have the benefit of those amended plans. So I just would like to say that we have the application, we do have the amended plans, but it seems to me at this point in time that they may be the subject of a future development application as opposed to part of this development application. So I just mentioned that to you. But thank you all for your assistance in the panel's deliberations on this. We will be considering it later in the day, and then there'll be a decision on the website by the end of the week. So thank you all for participating.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Jan. I'll resume the chair, and the next item on the agenda is 113 Macpherson Street, Bronte, and now Mr. McDonald will absent himself from this matter due to a conflict, and there are a number of speakers registered to speak. The first is Ms. Virginia Milson from the Bronte Beach Precinct. Is she present?
Yes.
Hello
Yes.
there. I've introduced you already, so please go ahead, Ms. Milson.
Okay, thank you. So basically, we have a number of concerns to do with streetscape, loss of amenity, increase in FSR, setting a precedent, and also design excellence. For a start, if in terms of the deleterious impact on the streetscape, the front setback on the western side as a result of this kiosk would be reduced to nil from a 2.8 metre setback in just that far end. And the problem with that is that the whole presentation of the building in the streetscape would be quite disrupted in that presently there are a number of pillars, and then there's a space obviously between the pillars, and then there's setback to what is now the Woolworths site. So this far western edge would be filled in. This would therefore break the symmetry of these pillars and the presentation of this building in the streetscape, and how it addresses the street, and would therefore have an impact on its overall presentation to the street. The submission does refer to design excellence, and by breaking the pattern of this building and disrupting the rhythm of these columns in the street, this will have an impact on the design excellence. I mean, you know, once you change the symmetry of a building, you then impact on its, you know, its overall design. In terms of the amenity, there are already amenity impacts to the near neighbours with the move by Woolworths into that site. Both neighbours and residents feeling the impact of Woolworths through increased traffic generation, which comes not just as a result, well, mainly from the delivery vehicles, but also from those people who are not walking there but are, you know, driving and just think they'll jump out and get something. And people are finding that they're getting, you know, from time to time, even their driveways parked in. So with the imposition or the introduction of a further kiosk here, that's just going to obviously increase all these problems further. There'll be obviously more delivery vehicles, there'll be further loss of parking, and in addition there'll be noise exchange because it's going to be open till 10 o'clock at night. So, you know, there'll obviously be people sitting around drinking and enjoying themselves, and that's obviously going to affect those residents. And at present, or at the moment, further down the road, you've got the buffer of the shops. So if there's some noise exchange there, you've at least got a line of shops to absorb some of that noise. You won't get it further up the street, where the residents, and they're predominantly family people living in houses there, will be impacted because there's no buffer, because there are no shops on the other side of the road. Finally, the proposal will increase the FSR by 20 square metres, which was not originally acknowledged in the DA. And if this is further duplicated, if they then use this as a precedent to then expand into the remaining area, you get a considerable increase in the FSR, and you'd also get a further real impact on the overall design of the building. You'd really change the whole character and bulk of the building. So those are our main concerns.
Thank you, Ms. Milson.
Thank you for the
Any
opportunity.
questions of Ms. Milson from the members of the panel?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
The next speaker is Mr. Robert Mcclellan. Is he present, please?
Yes, I am present.
Hello there. Your
hello.
name is Robert Mcclellan. You're from 104 McPherson Street, Bronte.
Yeah, you beat me to it. I'm my neighbour, and I'm speaking against the proposal. This particular area is mainly residential, even though there's been some new developments going in terms of putting high density development in. But we're already suffering massive amount of traffic, an increase in population here. So something that's basically on the footpath, like this proposal for another kiosk, I think is what the term is totally inappropriate for the area. I have concerns that it will negatively impact upon the neighbours in the adjoining residences and flats in particular. If you lived in that particular building or adjacent to that particular building, it's something that is totally undesirable. There's also the issue of the generation of traffic. Already we've just got massive amounts of increased traffic with the introduction of the Woolworths supermarket. Like, I can walk out the front of my door now and there'll be a car parked across my driveway, and all the other residents around have similar situations where people are coming in and just parking wherever they choose in order to go over to Woolworths, get what they want to get and come back 10, 15 minutes later. It's hugely changed the profile of the traffic in this area. And having another development like the kiosk where people are going to do that's going to create chaos. It'll probably lead to road rage about parking spots. It's totally undesirable. We get a lot of people who are using the footpath going to and from the beaches and the existing cafes further down the street towards St Thomas Street. And I think if there's a whole group of people milling around on the footpath, it's going to make it rather difficult for people to get past. And there are a few elderly people who live around here and would appreciate having the footpath access. So I consider it totally inappropriate. I think the design is really tacky. I think we're talking about, various pop-up type developments that you see in Woolworths and, in Westfield. So again, it really does detract from a building which the residents have worked very hard to come into an agreement with the developers to produce something that is an acceptable compromise. And I think this is really stepping too far. It's just bad development.
Thank you, Mr. McClellan. Any questions of this gentleman?
No, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The next speaker is Ms. Kerry Spooner. Is she here, please?
I am. Thank you.
Hello there.
Hello. Hi.
Can you tell us where you live, Ms. Spooner?
Sure. I live at 8 Yanko,
Yes.
which is around the corner. So Yanko Avenue, you know where it is. Fourth house along.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'm not going to go back on all the points that others have spoken about, although I do agree with them. I would just like to point out to the panel that what we have across the road now was the result of very significant community action over years, not a short period of time, for years. And I'm one of the members, founding members of the Save Bronte group, and we put in a submission again. And this is really after years of discussions with developers, because there's been a series of them, with local council, with all sorts of experts. And frankly, we find it outrageous that these people come along now and propose to change something that was very carefully, deliberately, and quite painfully negotiated over a period of years. The impact on the streetscape of the appearance of building this box out the front for a kiosk, which I cannot imagine what possible amenity it could be adding to the community that we don't already have, except, of course, the liquor license. And my mind boggles as to where that could possibly go. Having walked down the streets of New Orleans, like many of you, with people with alcohol in their hands, the idea of having a kiosk popped on the edge there, selling alcohol, is truly scary. The main thing I want to point out also, though, is the issue of traffic. As I sit here looking out on Yanko Avenue, yet again, there is a delivery truck across my driveway. I don't blame these guys. They've got nowhere to stop. They see our driveways as, oh my God, what a great opportunity. I can just whip over to Woolworths and grab a couple of things, or make a small delivery to a store down in McPherson Street. We've already lost a lot of amenity in the area, and an outcome was reached deliberately, painfully, over a long period of time. Just one further point I'd like to make, and that is it needs to be remembered that what is proposed here is set on the very edge of the shopping centre. And I know other speakers have alluded to the issues around noise and such, but this is right on the edge. It is far more in a residential area than it is in a commercial area. Thanks very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Spooner. Any questions of Ms. Spooner from the members of the panel? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next speaker I have is Mr. Darren Grujic. Is he present, please?
Yes, I'm present. Thank you.
Hello. Your name is Darren Grujic, and you're the development manager from Willow Frank on behalf of the applicant.
Correct. Yeah. Thanks
Yes,
for
please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity to speak. So, just wanted to confirm firstly that you received our updated documentation that we've sent in relation to the application.
When did you send it in?
Look, originally we sent it about 2 weeks ago directly to Katie Johnston, and then we sent it again this Monday.
We'll have access to that, Mr. Grujic.
Okay. Noted. Look, I'll just get straight into it. Just initially, just wanted to clarify that the application doesn't propose to be a licensed venue. There may have been a misinterpretation or otherwise in the original submission. The application has been updated on a number of grounds to address the various issues put forward by council and the submissions. I'll talk about, I think, just the high level council concerns, because they seem to have encapsulated all the comments from the objectives that have been raised so far. So essentially, the revised application has reduced the scale of the proposed kiosk. Additionally, there's some operational amendments that have been made to address various comments raised. So starting with the FSR, there was a clause 4.6 prepared and submitted. We note the original kiosk size was around 13 square meters. That's been reduced down to 10 square meters. Essentially what's happened is we've reduced on the eastern side, the kiosk. What that's done operationally is it reduces the requirement for patrons to actually queue on the footpath. Appreciating that was one of the biggest concerns, that people have to actually queue on the footpath. Patrons will now queue within the actual colonnade area, which is entirely within the site boundary. Moving on to the next issue in the planning report is waste management. Likewise, by pulling back that kiosk and adding a door within the colonnade section on the eastern facade, waste can be taken directly to the goods lift, which is already on site. Noting as well that there is a retail waste room on the premises for the purposes of retail waste. So waste will not be taken outside of the boundary or across council property, nor will queuing occur on the footpath as a result of the amended design. In terms of insufficient information, again, I just refer to, there's an updated plan of management and SEE with the submission, which outlines that the proposal is actually is proposing to offer takeaway food and drinks, including coffee, juices, sandwiches, and pastries. The comments surrounding additional traffic generation for deliveries, we don't feel is really relevant in terms of the proposed products. The deliveries will probably occur once fortnightly. So that we feel addresses that. We also feel that most of the traffic that will be going to the kiosk will be people that shop at Woolworths. We don't see people driving, given that there are coffee shops down the road as well. We don't see people driving specifically to this kiosk. It's more an extension of people that are shopping at Woolworths, walk outside and say, let's grab a coffee on the way home. Furthermore, in terms of design excellence, the kiosk shape and size, as I mentioned, has been reduced. When we look at figures 1 and 2 in Council's assessment report, we see that Woolworths is also using up a lot of that equivalent retail area. And what I mean by that is that the same space between the colonnades on the other side of the building, Woolworths has extended various signage, display items, and things like that onto the equivalent retail area. So we feel that activating that right-hand portion of the building will be achieved. In terms of design excellence, those figures 1 and 2 also show that it's quite dark between and underneath those colonnades. The design principles of the kiosk are such that they intend to hide the kiosk within those colonnade systems. The colonnades are white and quite prominent. We feel that looking at that structure, the building from a streetscape, the kiosk won't be illuminated to an extent that it'll actually stand out in a negative way, and we think that's also been addressed in the revised scale and design of the kiosk. Public domain, obviously there's a concern about noise. We've revised the proposed hours of operation to 8 p.m. So originally that was 10 p.m. And we feel 8 p.m. is a fairly good outcome in terms of the business of the kiosk and also for the residents. That also obviously addresses the amount of traffic that's walking to and from the kiosk. But overall, we would pledge that council considers the revised documentation because the applicant's quite comfortable that all of the various concerns have been addressed.
Thank you, Mr. Gruchik. Any questions of this gentleman from the members of the panel?
Yes, thank you. When you said that people that are doing their shopping at Woolworths will be able to then avail themselves of a coffee, well, when I did my site inspection, I recall that there was a coffee machine in Woolworths.
There is. What we're saying is that given the option of a Woolworths coffee and a freshly brewed coffee from a coffee specialist, 9 people out of 10 are going to go to the kiosk and get a coffee. We've tried Woolworths coffee and nothing against it, but we feel there's much better coffee out there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gruchik. So at the conclusion of the public meeting, we will consider this application and notify our decision on the council website as soon as may be possible. Thank you to all speakers.
Thank you.
Now, if we can get Mr. McDonald back with us. Mr. McDonald back with us?
Yes.
I'm back.
Thank you. We'll move on then to item number 3, which is 34 Military Road, North Bondi. And there is a number of speakers. The first one I have is Louisa Moran. Is she present?
I am. Thank you.
Hello there.
Chairperson.
And you're
Good
from
morning.
Unit 542 Fairfax Road, Bellevue Hill.
Yes, that's where I currently reside, and I own Unit 4 at number 38 Military Road.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Chairperson and panel members. Thank you for the opportunity to address you this morning regarding the development application for 34 Military Road. There are a number of issues with this proposal, but I want to discuss the loss of my amenity from 1, the breach of the 9.5 metre height control by an excess of 22%. 2, the side balconies on the second and third story apartments. 3, the FSR non-compliance, which may appear minor at face value, but if you factor in the potential to convert 2 19-metre square side balconies to bedrooms, there will be a material FSR overrun. And 4, the roof terrace, which grossly exceeds 15 square metres, which is non-compliant with DCP limits. These issues combined for a 4-storey development that has excessive bulk would result in me losing amenity in terms of privacy, noise, and view loss. On view loss, while there is no doubt that the non-compliance obstructs units 2, 5, and 6 at 36 Military Road, my view at unit 4, 38 Military Road, which has a full iconic Bondi district and water view, is also adversely impacted. The RLA view analysis using a standing position states that my unit has expansive Bondi Beach ocean, district, and coastal views. I note the view measurement was taken from the middle of my balcony in a standing position, and that the impact is more severe if taken from within my living area, as per the steps of tenacity. The RLA view analysis concludes that the height non-compliance will result in a minor view impact on my unit. I do not agree that the impact is minor, it is major, as the RLA photo montage shows. There would be a material obstruction of my Bondi district views replaced with a view of the side view of the block of apartments. Additionally, the panoramic interface of Bondi district views and Bondi water views would be interrupted. Most importantly, the loss of view, regardless whether classified as major or minor, is completely due to the non-compliance with the height controls and should be refused on this basis alone. This is my current view, and this is the impact of the development. The planning control non-compliance and the directly resulting loss of amenity for many neighbours has generated widespread community opposition, as reflected by the 32 objections lodged. Also of concern is the potential for a non-compliant development precedent in the neighbourhood. The request of the applicant to vary LEP height limits is not in the public interest, it is only in the interest of the applicant. I and my fellow objectors fully support the Waverley Council planning recommendation of refusal due to the severe impact and loss of amenity to neighbouring properties. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moran. Any questions of Ms. Moran from the members of the panel?
No, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker, I beg your pardon, is Christopher Frank from 38 Military Road.
Good morning, this is Chris.
Hello. Your name is Christopher Frank and you're from Unit 3, 38 Military Road.
That's correct.
Yes, please go ahead.
Similar to Alana Louisa's objections, I would like to follow with, I really strongly object this application for the following reasons. The building exceeds the height limits of the Waverley Local Environmental Plan. The amended plans indicate the building height is 12.7 meters high. If you add the height of the photovoltaic panels, the building height would be 13.7 meters high. And this exceeds the building height limits by 4.2 meters. So basically you're having one floor too many. So with this height, the proposed building height will have a huge impact on the neighboring property views. I strongly disagree with Richard Lamb and Associates' view sharing assessment findings and recommendations. There will be a loss of iconic views for numerous neighbors. There will be degradation of the quality of the views for numerous neighbors. For example, we'll be losing our eastern views of the ocean, Ben Buckler, and the 70-year-old palm trees. And I am not alone when it comes to the loss of view. The proposed building height, scale, design, setback, and materiality is no way sensitive to the neighborhood context and its streetscape. The street setback is minimal and not compliant. The building mass and height alone will be a Goliath compared to the structures adjacent to it. And the non-compliant setback will also eliminate the green aspect of the existing structure by removing the large 70-year-old palm trees and the vegetation near the sidewalk and road. The proposed building will also feature excessively large terraces, which will result in loss of views and increased noise. So the proposed rooftop terrace is 53 square meters. This grossly exceeds the 15 square meter limits. The rooftop terrace will also have an area for the possibility of planting tall foliage, which could contribute to the loss of views of nearby properties. The terraces will be open and elevated, and the sound and noise emanating from them during gatherings will be loud to neighbors as per the law of acoustics. And finally, the development of the approval will set a new precedent for future non-compliant development. If the current non-compliant DA is approved, this action will be regarded as an example or a guide to be considered subsequent similar circumstances. This is a bad precedent, and the intent of the DCP, its policies and controls could be compromised. So in conclusion, the proposed building height and design will have a severe impact on the neighbors and their outlooks. If the structure should be compliant with existing codes sensitive to the context and its design and materiality, if the structure follows the codes and is sensitive to the preceding parameters, it will be complementary to the current context and more sympathetic to its neighbors. I've stated everything in my objection letter if you would like to refer to that.
Thank you, Mr. Frank. Any questions of Mr. Frank from the members of the panel?
No, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker I have is Giorgio Lung from 36 Military Road.
Hi, Mr.
Hello
Chair.
there.
Hi, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm the owner of Unit 4, 36 Military Road, North Bondi. And today I'm also speaking on behalf of the other owners in the block in 36 Military Road. I concur with the views put forward by Louisa Moran and also Chris Frank that this development is going to adversely impact our lifestyle and also our quality of living in the block. Well, first of all, it exceeds the height, the council height limitations. The sheer size of the proposed building is excessive, and it completely disregards council's height limitation. It's aggressively designed and has no regard to the neighboring buildings. Secondly, overshadowing. The proposed size of the building will take away our views, natural light, and also is the proximity of the border of the redevelopment will also create more shadowing and taking away our privacy. And our units number 2, 5, and 6 will lose their views to the Bondi Valley. Number 3, excessive earthwork. It's a huge concern for us that the proposed development is going to dig down under our building to create a car park. We have huge concerns over the damage that could be done to the building structure, especially we are in the neighboring property, and removing such a huge mass of land from below our building will put too much stress on the building structure, which may later cost us to spend our own money to fix it, as we have witnessed in
Sorry, you've gone on mute.
Oh,
Hello?
sorry, I didn't realize that.
You've gone on to mute. Thank you.
Sorry, I'll start again. I'll start again.
No, don't start all of the beginning, just the last couple of sentences.
Oh, I see. Okay, so number 4, visual and acoustics. So the proximity of this design to our property will cause residents not to lose the views, but also the planned size of the borderline walls and also the proximity to our bedroom windows will cause acoustic issues and echoing. So, so all the owners of our block is against this development.
Thank you.
That's all.
Any questions of Mr. Leung from the members of the panel?
No, thank you.
Thank you for your submission. Now, there are no speakers on behalf of the applicant. There were some late written submissions, which we have taken account of and will take account of. So as a conclusion of the public meeting, we'll consider this application and notify our decision on the council website as soon as may be possible. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
That moves us on to a modification application in relation to the Mill Hill Community Centre at Springs Feet, Bondi Junction. The speaker that I have registered to speak is Mr. Matthew Henderson from the Waverley Council.
Yes, I'm here.
Hello, your name is Matthew Henderson. You're the Senior Project Manager for the Waverley Council.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, good morning, panel members. As the chair just said, my name is Matt Henderson, and I'm a Senior Project Manager at Waverley Council delivering this project. So the reason for this DA amendment is due to further planning associated with this project, and the consideration of the precinct has identified opportunities to enhance the ground floor of the Mill Hill building, including the ground floor senior centre. Opportunity exists to both reconfigure and enhance the senior centre hall, incorporate a purpose-built reception and gathering space for the seniors, provide a more private space for consulting with the seniors, whilst also providing for a commercial cafe on the Spring Street frontage. This would bring much needed income to fund programming and service delivery, serve the users of the buildings and courtyard spaces, as well as activating the area.
Thank you. Are there any questions of Mr. Henderson? And we should also note that the architect, Mr. Tomek Archer, is available to answer any questions from the panel.
No questions, thanks.
No questions. The objector who was going to speak, she decided not to. Leanne.
Yes, so she, as I understand it from Rosalina, has been removed from the list of speakers.
Right, no, thank you. The application is very clear. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you.
I beg your pardon. Mr. Henderson spoke briefly to the second of the two applications, which relates to the change of use of part of the ground floor to a cafe. So if there's any questions in relation to that item too, we should deal with them now.
No, thank you. Thank you.
And Mr. Henderson, is there anything you wish to add about the change of use to the cafe?
No, I don't have anything further to add. Thank you.
All right. Well, then we can move on. So this application and the second application relating to the cafe will be considered at the conclusion of the public meeting and will be notified on the council website as soon as may be possible. Thank you to Mr. Henderson.
Great. Thank you for your time.
Along. That moves us to the next item on the agenda, which is item number 6, which is also an application by the council in relation to modifications of facilities at Bondi Park, Bondi Beach. And I think, is there Mr. Robert Sabato present?
Yeah.
Hello. Is your name Robert Sabato, and are you a senior project manager with the council in relation and have conducted this particular application?
That's correct.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so this is a section 455 modification to a DA that was approved in September last year. We seek to modify the conditions of consent. I'm sure you've read through them, but there are 3 conditions, 5, 35 and 40. We also, as part of those conditions of consent, would like to have it staged in 3 different portions. And that is so that it would just make it easier for our PCA to sign off on the conditions of consent. Council at this stage is only looking to complete stage 1 of the works, which will be the first aid facility, lifeguard tower renovation, and tunnel 2 remediation, which is underneath the lifeguard tower. Look, in case you're not aware, the changes, the section 455 changes, the majority of them are internal. There is little to zero impact on the visual amenity down at Bondi Park. And these changes were made to cater for lifeguards or the operational needs of the lifeguards, council lifeguards, as the Bondi Pavilion redevelopment deleted their amenities as part of the redevelopment plans. If you've got any questions, happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Zabata. Are there any questions of this gentleman?
Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. So at the conclusion of the public meeting, we will consider this application and notify our decision on the council website as soon as may be possible. So we're moving along with the agenda and we come to 18 Kenneth Street, Tamarama. I beg your pardon. And I think the only speaker that I have is Mr. Con Harris, architect, on behalf of the applicant. Is he present? Mr. Harris?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, I can. I can see.
Okay, thank you.
So you're the architect on behalf of the applicant?
That's right. That's correct.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. Look, okay. So this proposal is for the addition of a green roof terrace to a recently constructed block of 3 apartments. Unfortunately, this application has been recommended for refusal. Now, after reviewing the officer's report, I strongly disagree with their reasons for the refusal as follows. So if you go to the reasons for refusal, I'll just go through the points. So basically, the first item 1 and 2A, on the contrary, the green roof part, which constitutes 50% of the proposal, will add to the aesthetics of the building, as well as the scenic quality of the locality and the streetscape. Furthermore, the green roof section provides stormwater retention by absorbing and retaining water, hence reducing runoff from the site. In relation to the height, yes, there is a breach of the height control where the existing staircase is extended, the common staircase, to the roof. We provided justification under clause 4.6, which concluded that there was really no detrimental impact to the neighbouring dwellings in terms of overshadowing, privacy, view loss. The stairwell was also splayed at the top to also reduce the visual bulk. In relation to the FSR comment, the officer included the area of the stair, which resulted in a breach of the FSR. Look, I disagree with the author. The staircase to the roof is part of the common vertical circulation, which should not be included in the FSR, and therefore there was no required for clause 4.6. In relation to number 3A, on the contrary, the proposed green roof section of the roof terrace will be planted with natives. Proposal will enhance the planted native vegetation within the area. In relation to overshadowing, the majority of the shadows cast by the proposal, that's the stairwell, are within the shadows cast by the existing building. Furthermore, in relation to the west-facing windows to number 20 Kenneth Street, the majority of their windows have obscure glazing. Their north-facing windows are not affected by the proposal. In relation to privacy, look, the terrace section of the proposal is well set back from the perimeter of the building and is encompassed by this green roof landscape component. We provided numerous sight lines to show that there was no privacy breaches to the neighbouring properties, which was part of our application. And also, the 3 apartments, so the ground floor's got extensive landscaping front and rear. The first floor apartment has got balconies front and rear as well. And the third floor apartment, which we believe, to increase its amenity to provide this sort of green roof, will have exclusive use to this terrace, which also reduces the impact to the neighbouring properties by only having one owner use this terrace and maintain it. So in relation to view loss, right, there was a comment about view loss from the author, that there's potential view loss from the properties to the north and to the west. In relation to the west, the height of number 16, the neighbouring property to the west, the height of the roof actually covers the stairwell addition and that open pergola. So there's really no view loss to properties to the west as a result of, number 16 obscuring that view. In relation to comments to properties to the north, I had a look at the street, which is Fletcher Street, and there's no real view loss. I mean, those properties, given the height of them in relation to the properties on Kenneth Street. There was maybe an objection number 83, and so I had a look at number 83 Fletcher Street. Now, their views are to the east and to the north. Very, very little view to the south. So look, at the end of the day, look, we weren't given the opportunity to address any of the concern in terms of from the planner. I believe this is worthy of an approval. It adds to the aesthetics of the building, and really there's no real detrimental impact as a result. So look, I'll leave it up to you. That was, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Harries. Any questions of Mr. Harries from the members of the panel?
I just have one question.
Yes.
So what is the usable area of the roof terrace you propose?
Yes, I've got those two areas on the drawing. So I think the usable area was 46 square meters and the green roof was 44 square meters.
Okay, well, you know that council has a control for a 15 metre.
That's right. So look, if that's going to look at the end of the day, if that means approval, I'll increase the landscape area and come down to close to that figure, if that meets an approval. But the whole idea is having a nice roof form that can be seen from different vantage points of having this sort of green planted with natives, as we said in our application.
So when you say plantings with natives, what additional height would that increase?
They're only low-level plants. So the planted box is only 0.5 metre high, and these are low-level native plantations that don't grow to 2 or 3 meters high. They're just all low level that could grow over the planter as well.
Okay, then. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harries.
Thanks for that. Thank you.
So
Nothing further, thanks.
Public meeting. I'm sorry. Did you have a question, Mr. Mcclellan?
I beg your pardon, Mr. Chair. No, I was just confirming I didn't.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
At the conclusion of the public meeting, we'll consider this application and notify our decision on the council website as soon as may be possible.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the next agenda item, which is 41 Sir Thomas Mitchell Road, Bondi Beach. And the first speaker that I have is Dr. Karen Sawada. Is that person present?
Yes, I am.
Hello there.
Hello there.
I like your backdrop.
Yes, well, I wish I was there right now, but unfortunately
we all
not.
do. So for the record, your name is Dr. Karen Sawada from 41 Sir Thomas Mitchell Road.
I'm from 37 to 39 Sir Thomas Mitchell Road.
37 to 39. I'm sorry, I had incorrect information. 37 to 39 Sir Thomas Mitchell Road,
Yes.
adjacent to the development.
That's correct. We're on the
Yes,
eastern
please go
side.
ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, members of the panel. Look, I'm on the top floor of this building, facing the development, and put in the original submission from our block on behalf of the Strata Committee and residents and owners. And our concerns were largely addressed. I have to say thank you very much for the considerations that were given to us in the question of landscaping and other matters about amenity that and overshadowing. So we want to thank the committee for the work that's been done and for the amendments that were made. From our perspective, and I'm particularly concerned about this as a resident on the facing the block, is that the window in the roof faces the 9 bedrooms on our side of the block, 9 bedroom windows, and twice submissions were made about this, and I noted from the report in the agenda that translucent glass was being proposed for that window, which for 1.5 metres from the floor level. But from our perspective, that really doesn't address the question. It provides privacy for obviously the residents who will be in that penthouse. But for those of us on the side, particularly on the upper levels, there is certainly a loss of privacy for us. It's hard to see from the actual plans what that aspect looks like, but it certainly, I could show a picture of the, if you could see that. It's a bit hard because of my background, but yes, you can probably see that. It literally, where the blue rectangle is, it actually really looks right into our room, also into the flat bedroom.
Hold it. Put it up and hold it very still.
Let me see. Sorry, I'll have to take my. Can you see that?
And then it disappears on us, unfortunately. Never mind. I think we
probably should have. Oh, there we go. No.
But it just disappears once we put it up before we can have a look.
I'm afraid it's going to just be a bit of a bridge too far. But it does actually really look right into our window and also into the block next door, into the flat next door, and to the flat that's on the front of the block. So, you know, our original suggestion was for the window to be angled in a way that would not directly face our bedrooms, in addition to which, and it's not just our bedroom on the top floor, but it's the level down as well. And so it does, for us, represent a considerable loss of amenity, and it's very hard to see just from the drawings the impact that this will have, in addition to which the block is slightly higher than ours. So whereas the 1.5 metre translucence will obviously, as I said, impact positively the residents in that block, for us it doesn't actually improve our privacy at all, because they will be at a higher, they'll be higher than us. So look, I just want to place that before the committee. I appreciate that a lot of work has gone into considering this development by the council and also by the architects, and we're obviously very grateful for the work that's been done to reduce the impact of this on all the residents on either side of this block. But the question of the window still remains an important one for us who are living facing the roof level.
Thank you, Dr. Sawida. Any questions of this submitter?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. Could you are you able to tell us what window number that is from the drawings?
I'm just bear with me. I've just got the file open. We are bedroom number 3. So if you look at figure 9, the elevation, there's where I'm. The picture that I have is bedroom number 1. But if you look at, there's also bedroom 3 is ours, bedroom 1 on the next to us, and bedroom 2 on level 4 of the block. This window really affects this on the development, does affect all of these, and indeed looks down into the window. It will look down into the windows on level 3 as well. So really, there's 8 windows and potential impacts on level 2.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sawada.
Thank you so much.
Now, the architect for the applicant, Regan van der Wert Walsh, is available.
Yes.
Hello there.
Hello, how are you?
I think they're the architect for the applicant, and I think it might be useful if you can answer the issue raised by Dr. Sawada, please.
Sure, and apologies, Mr. Chair, I'm just having troubles with my video, so I'm just going to have to go audio at the moment.
We can hear you, but we can't see you.
That's okay. Just to clarify, I think the applicant, sorry, Dr. Sawada, that was referring to window 10 on our schedule. which faces 37 to 39. Is that correct? Or are you talking about the other side? Sorry.
I was talking about the other side.
The other side. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry. So that's all the windows, 7, 6 other bedroom windows on that sort of northwest facing side.
Mhm.
Yeah, look, I mean, there is obviously, we've tried with the council and based on the first round of feedback from the neighbours to offset and push back those windows as far as possible off the boundary. They are set back sort of further than is required by the council regulations, and we've also put in that application there that, that caveat that up to 1,500 those windows would be frosted, which makes it very difficult for anyone to look down onto your property and those penthouses and those balconies. And certainly the windows that are off the open plan, off the curb, the living area has been also raised up. So it's that slot window W7 through there. And in addition, we've got the planters that sit in front of the windows to our bedroom, to the bedrooms on that side, which would be the master bedroom and bedroom 2. So as to provide some further privacy of, of looking down onto your property, onto the neighboring property. I mean, you'd literally have to be standing against the window on your tiptoes, looking over the frosting to be able to even get a line of sight down onto your balconies. And that's even before we start looking at the roof overhang of your property. So, I think we have adapted that based on the original feedback. And we've worked quite hard with council to get to a point where, council feel that we're achieving as much privacy as is feasible in this scenario. We're quite confident that we're not setting up a situation where you're going to promote people overlooking other existing dwellings.
May I comment on that, please?
Yeah, sure,
Chair?
of course, no problem.
Thank you very much for that comment,
Yeah.
Michael, if I may call you Michael.
Regan,
I'm actually talking
I'm
about the
Regan.
other side of the, Regan, I beg your pardon. I'm so sorry. I'm talking about the other side of the block.
So you're 37,
Yeah,
sorry,
we're 37
that's what I
to
did ask.
39.
Okay.
So the window, it's the single window of the bedroom.
Yeah, okay, so it's window 10, which I originally,
Yes,
sorry, I thought
yes.
that's why I asked window 10. So window 10, yeah, look, there's two things on that window 10 as well. One, we've got approximately approaching almost 9.7 meters of separation from that window 10. And it is the only window overlooking anywhere near that, overlooking your 37 to 39. And again, we've applied that frosting to 1,500 square meter, 1,500 mil above the floor. So the aspect when you're in a bedroom there is that what we wanted to do was create the aspect where the people are going to be able to look up and see above your roof and see sky. That with the separation that we've created, we're actually further back than the existing windows that would overlook your property from the existing apartments as they stand on that facade. So if we were to look at sort of drawing DA 07 issue C, we're sort of set further back, and we've actually got more privacy than in that window than any of those existing ones. And some of those are from living areas and kitchen areas. So we've tried our best, and we've actually minimized it to one window on that facade that we're adding, and it's from a bedroom. So the privacy there it will work both ways. It's not an area where people are going to stand a lot, be in a kitchen, living, dining, and actually be there, visually looking out through it. It's a private space. It's a bedroom space. So we feel that frosting and the size of the window is suitable, given we're also almost 10 meters separated from any windows that are impacted on the neighboring block.
All right, thank you, Regan. Is there any other aspects of the development that you wish to speak to?
No, Mr. Chair, at this moment, we're sort of obviously worked hard with council to get to the point where there's an approved, this approval has been put forward for recommendation of this panel, and unless the panel have any other questions for me.
Any questions from the members of the panel to Mr. Van der Walsh?
No, thank you.
Just one question, Chair. In terms of window 10, I notice that there is a good separation, but the frosting to 1500 mils, and then how will they be openable? Will they be non-openable up to 1500 too?
Yeah, look, we haven't quite got to that point, but I would suggest we would have a solid fixed paint panels below, and either louvers or an awning style window above. Again, which would minimize, opening out. Okay.
So in fact, you wouldn't object to a condition to that effect?
No, we wouldn't object to a condition to that effect.
All right, thank you very much. Good.
That's okay.
Okay, thank you very much to both speakers. It's been very useful. So at the conclusion of the public meeting, we will consider this matter and determine it and notify the decision on the council website. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and panel.
Thank you, panel members. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is 45 Military Road, Dover Heights. Amelia Gleeson, the architect for the applicant, is present to answer any questions from the members of the panel if we have any. So that's the question for the panel. Are there any questions from the applicant's architect who is available to answer them?
Nothing from me.
Nothing from me. And so thank you very much for your attendance. I like your sporting hat. And it's appreciated that you're available to answer questions, but there are none. So the conclusion of the public meeting will consider and determine this matter and notify our decision on the council website. Thank you. So we move on to 75 Hardy Street, Dover Heights, the 10th matter on the agenda. And the first speakers are Peter and Bronwyn Klinger from 29 Walanga Road. Are they present? Mr. or Mrs. Klinger?
Hello.
Hello there.
Hi.
So are you Peter Klinger?
Yes,
and
yes, correct.
Bronwyn Klinger from 29 Walanga Road, Dover Heights.
Correct, yep.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, we just want to mention that, we strongly object to the raising of an additional half a metre of height, as it is significant and would impact our view from our property. We spent a lot of time and money at the initial DA where an appropriate decision was reached by the development panel, who all actually visited the site and came to the conclusion to limit the height to what the original DA is now. There's no reason whatsoever that the original decision on the height should change, simply because the applicant wants what they originally applied for. Look, the development exceeds FSR and other development parameters. We have not objected to that at all, but firmly object to the height being increased by another 500 millimetres from the original, from the previously approved maximum height. Now, there are other ways of using minor architectural adjustments that the applicant can achieve in their aims without raising the height, as outlined in our report by Tony Moody, submitted on Monday, the 26th of July.
We have received that and have read it.
Okay, so just with a couple of points that Tony made. On page 14 of the SEE, it's incorrect to state that the additional height is required to achieve compliant and usable vehicular access. The proposed modified development is clearly seeking to also raise the approved internal floor levels within each level to increase their views from the internal floor levels, but this is to the detriment of our views. We just believe that scenario is not view sharing. And another point is there are definitely alternative options available to the applicant to reduce excavation, but still retain the current approved maximum height to protect our view loss. Okay, so in conclusion, I'd just like to say I believe it is totally unfair to change the decision made in 2019, which was a well-researched decision. I believe the decision to keep the height as previously decided in 2019 should be upheld, and the application to raise the height further be denied.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the panel for Mr. Klinger? Thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is David Lowinger from 32 Walanga.
Yes, hello.
Hello there. So your name is David Lowinger from 32.
Correct.
Please go ahead.
Yes, so I'm the owner of 27 Walanga as well, which is directly behind this development. And I, as Peter just said, we went to great time and effort 3 years ago now to, in cooperation with the applicant's architect and also with the panel who was again reviewing this decision. And your panel came out to the site and did a site visit to have a look at the views from both of our houses and concluded that this was a fair, the decision was a fair view sharing decision. So it appears now a sort of backhanded way that the applicant is now looking to have your decision reversed and make the height greater when nothing has changed. So there's been nothing that's changed in my house or Peter's house that would warrant the previous decision being reversed. As you have the report from Tony Moody, which outlines again other ways in which they can achieve their aims without raising their height parapet, which will significantly impact our views. And I think it's ingenuine of the report to suggest that there wouldn't be an impact by raising it by 0.5 metre, as was determined 2 years ago by your site visit. So in conclusion, I just don't think it passes the pub test, that nothing has really changed from any point of view other than the applicant trying to re-push their height, which will impact on our views. And I think that contravenes the council's view sharing arrangement. And from the panel, many of you, who I think came out to the site 3 years ago now to have a look and see.
Thank you, Dr. Lowinger. Any questions from the panel?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next speaker is the, on behalf of the applicant, actually, Aristia Bezos. Ms. Bezos, is she present?
Yes, thank you.
Hello there.
Hello.
So you are the applicant?
That's correct.
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. Look, we did take on the recommendations the panel made last time, and then when we put it to the test with our traffic engineer, she noted that we wouldn't be able to get into the driveway. So she's done an image of that, us getting into the driveway from there, and it actually doesn't, without scraping. So that's the issue there. So that's why we're asking for the height. So yeah, we've asked for an amendment of the height so that we can safely get in and out of the garages and manage the water flow entering the property. So that's the main reason for the request. It's not that anything has changed, but it's when we did go through and take on board the new height, these things didn't work. Allowing this height will have minimal impact on the neighbours behind, and we've gone through and gotten a survey done so that we can see where the actual views are. And you can see on the report, we've also had our property shaded in there. So on page 580 through, and you can see even from the lower ground floor that the views are still intact. And in fact, the report states that full views of the city skyline are still there from the kitchen, the living room, the balcony. That's stated on page 578. So that's the council report. So look, we don't want to take anyone's view. That's not our issue. Our issue is that we're just trying to get into the driveway. And with the lowered height that we agreed to from the last DA, that's actually not possible. And we didn't know that until we went through the DA conditions to put in the traffic report. So that's actually what's happened. Now, look, the only thing that I would really like the panel to consider is that the proposal goes through as a whole. We're able to build exactly as the council's recommended in the report, this current report, and our traffic engineer and civil engineer have gone through every recommendation that the council's put forward or supported. And we can do it, but only if no aspect of these conditions are changed in the notice of determination. Once any of these changes, one change will affect everything. So we ask that the DA be considered as a whole as it is. The property is quite a difficult site. What's deceiving from the flat plan is that corner of Liverpool and Hardy, there's quite a steep incline. Our property sits below the road on Liverpool Street, and there's quite a big meterage from the boundary to Liverpool Street. So one change in conditions will affect the other. That's actually what happened. When we lowered it, it affected everything else. So we've asked for this height, and I think we've taken into as much consideration as we can the views and shown that there will be no impact on those views. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bezos. Any questions of Ms. Bezos from the members of the panel? Thank you very much for your attendance and submission, and to the other speakers too. So at the conclusion of the public meeting, we'll consider this application and notify our decision on the council website.
Thank you.
So we move to number 11, which is 21 Walanga Road, Dover Heights. The only speaker is Mr. Michael Folk, architect. And the question is whether or not we have any questions of Mr. Folk. Do the members of the panel have any questions of the architect in 21 Walanga Road?
None from me, thank you.
Ms. Morell, any questions?
Sorry, no.
Okay. Ms. Mora, any questions? Oh, look, Mr. Folk, thank you very much for your attendance. Is there anything you'd like to say before we consider this matter later? Mr. Folk, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
I'll be very brief. You've had a long agenda.
Okay. Yes, thank you.
Wanted to thank Council, especially the input from both Bridget and Katie in terms of navigating this through. We're very happy with the outcome, and we value the input that they gave for this conclusion. And just one tiny little thing is in the report on page 645, and it's a clause called, I think it's AD5.
Condition, which one?
AD for Derek, 5.
5. Yes.
It refers to the development as additions and alterations, and it's actually a new build. I think it's just a typo, very minor.
Right.
We'll have a look at that condition. It may be that it just is there for alts and adds and doesn't apply if it's a new build, but we'll look at that. Thank you.
Okay, but thanks again, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Folk? I think the answer was no before, but thank you for your attendance.
Thank you very much.
So we'll consider this application at the conclusion of the public meeting and notify our decision accordingly.
Thank you.
That brings us to item number 12, which is 3 Mill Hill Road. There are no speakers registered to speak, so we'll pass over this and consider it at the opportunity that arises at the end of the meeting. So that brings us to the last item, which is 459 Walanga Road. And the only speaker that I have registered is George Caravanis, the planner for the applicant from GSA.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you for the opportunity to address you today. We'll only be brief. I'm speaking on behalf of the applicant, of course, and in support of the development application, or the 4.55, I should say. First, I'd like to confirm that we concur with the thorough assessment contained in the assessment report and the recommendation for approval. And we do not wish to challenge any of the conditions, including the one that reduces the floor space. Now, on the floor space, while the proposal seeks an increase in the FSR, In our opinion, there are compelling reasons to support this increase, as confirmed in the assessment report, and they are, firstly, the proposal does not result in any material change to the approved external building envelope. There is in fact a reduction, albeit minor, in height, and as a result, a small reduction in visible bulk and overshadowing. Secondly, the neighbouring properties have a greater FSR and incorporate a similar lower level, as confirmed on page 698 of your agenda. The proposal allows for a better integration and connectivity between the internal areas of the house and the private open space at the rear. Furthermore, the proposal does not give rise to any impacts, and it's for these reasons that the non-compliance with the FSA is consistent with the objectives of that particular standard. As the proposal retains compliance with the side setbacks, front and rear, and a lowering of the height, it comprises an envelope that is anticipated by the council's planning controls, despite the FSR non-compliance. As indicated in the council assessment report, there are numerous dwellings in the surrounding area with a similar FSR. And if I can ask you to look at page 698 of the agenda, you will see the relationship with the neighbours. This is the adjoining neighbours on either side, which comprise of 3 levels with large balconies. And the proposal will be contextually compatible. So this is not necessarily a matter of precedent, but rather context. Finally, while the balconies are increased in size, they are similar in size with the neighbouring properties and appropriately screened to protect the privacy of the neighbours. So members of the panel, it's for these reasons that the proposal, in my opinion, is appropriate from a planning point of view and worthy of approval.
Thank you, Mr. Caravanis. Any questions of Mr. Caravanis from the members of the panel?
Nothing, thanks.
Well, I think there's no questions. Mr. Caravanis, thank you for coming along and being so patient.
Sorry, Chair, I just did have one question.
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Morell.
It's with respect to the basement area and the need for that, and it could be reduced and therefore less excavation.
Ms. Morell, it's actually already been reduced by condition.
Yep.
So condition 1, I think it is.
Yeah, I understand that, but could it not be reduced?
I'm sorry?
Could it not be reduced even further?
Well, that's the whole premise of the proposal, and it provides a good usable space, and it's a lot less than what has been approved on either property, on either side. So if you look at pages, as I said, 698 of the agenda, yep. It does indicate what has been approved on either side. So it's quite typical of what has been approved in those areas.
I suppose the question is the need for it, but
well, space is always important, and I suppose if you're excavating down there in order to provide that connectivity with your rear yard, it provides a more usable space for you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Any further questions, Mr. Caravanis? Thank you very much. So at the conclusion of the public meeting, which will be shortly, we'll consider this application and notify our decisions on the council website as soon as may be possible. Thank you to all the speakers. I'll close the public meeting and we will adjourn and return at 1 o'clock for deliberations, if that's convenient. Don't forget to come in on the new link, the new Zoom link that you've been sent. And I think Ben Magistrali has sent a copy of it recently, so it shouldn't be at the bottom of your computer. It should be close to the top, I hope. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you to all the submitters.